Hello and welcome to another TLC tutoring accounting video. In this video, we're going to be going over the direct method for allocating service department costs. So there may be times when we are costing within a company that we may want to take the costs incurred by our service departments or our support departments and go ahead and allocate those costs to the manufacturing departments for a company. So in this example here, we have a company with 4 support departments, accounting, daycare facility, IT, and human resources, and these are the costs that are incurred in each of these support departments, and 3 manufacturing departments, which these are their costs. So our goal is to take these 4 costs for these 4 service departments and go ahead and divide them up with the cutting, assembly, and packaging department. That way we're taking our support department costs and we're putting them off on an actual manufacturing department cost, which is going to produce our units and which we're ultimately going to sell. So in this case, we have some allocation bases here. Let's see. For the accounting costs, we're going to allocate it based on the costs incurred by each department. For the daycare costs, we're going to use the number of employees. The IT is going to use the pieces of computer equipment in each department, and the human resources is also going to use the number of employees. So one thing to keep in mind is since we are using the direct method, we are only going to be focusing on the manufacturing departments. There's another method called the step method where we may have to consider the other support departments, but since we're using the direct method, our focus when we're going ahead and breaking everything down according to a ratio is going to be based on manufacturing departments. So let me show you exactly what we mean here. So for our 3 manufacturing departments, cutting, assembling, and packaging, we have a few costs that we want to basically allocate to each one. So they're going to have their direct costs, and we'll go ahead and plug those in right now. So cutting automatically has $500,000. Assembling has $700,000, packaging $400,000, and those are simply the costs that were incurred within those individual departments. But then we're also going to allocate the support department costs. So we're going to allocate accounting's cost, the daycare facility, the cost of IT, and the cost of human resources. So let's start with accounting. According to our allocation base that was given by our cost accountant here, we are going to be allocating it based on the cost incurred by each department. So since our focus is on the direct method, we're just going to be focusing on this. And we are going to use this as a ratio to allocate that $250,000 in accounting. So to show you what I mean, we have $250,000 that we're trying to allocate. And we're going to have to decide how much of that $250,000 is going to cutting, how much is going to assembling, and how much is going to packaging. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take cutting as a ratio of the full total of those 3 manufacturing departments. So let's go ahead and total those up. And we see that we have 1.6 million. So 250,000 times 500,000 of the 1.6 million, they're going to be allocated 78,125. Assembling is going to be the same kind of idea. 250,000 times 700,000 of the 1.6 million. They're going to get 109,375, and then same thing for packaging. So 250,000 is what we're allocating. They're going to get 400,000 of the pie, so 62,500 is going to be there. And I would always recommend once you're done allocating, add everything up and make sure that it does equal out to what you're originally trying to allocate. So let's move on to the daycare facility. The daycare facility is going to use the number of employees in each department. So again, since we are focused on the direct method, we're just looking at our manufacturing departments. So we have a total of 75. They're going to get 20 of the 75, 50 of the 75, 5 of the 75. It's like a ratio. Now, just to kind of show you a different method, that your professor might use. If you remember when we were doing activity-based costing, we found a rate and then we multiplied it based on usage. Your professor might want you to first find a rate. So just a little intermediate calculation here. If we divide it by the $75, we see that we're going to be allocating $666.67 of the daycare cost for every employee. So if we divide it by that, we get our rate, then multiply it by the usage, and that gives you your answer for the allocation. You'll notice it's very similar to what we had done above. Just in the one above, we had multiplied and then divided. In this one, we divided, then multiplied. It's still the same thing that we're doing here. So we'll go ahead and we'll continue those that way. $50,000 divided by 75 employees total. That gives you the rate per employee. And assembling has 50. So they're going to get $33,333.33. Same thing for the last one. So either way you can use in order to find your amounts allocated to each department. Let's do IT, $200,000 in cost in IT. They're going to be doing it based on the pieces of computer equipment. So let's go ahead and see. So we have a total of 18 pieces of computer equipment. So we have 200,000 divided by 18 times 6. $200,000 divided by the 18 total, and they're going to get 4 of those. And then 200,000 divided by the 18 times the 8. And by the way, if you are confused about this formula, take a moment to pause and just think about what we're doing here. If we do it the first way that we went ahead and did it, we're literally saying they're getting 8/18. So they're getting 8 portions of 18 possible portions, and that gives you a fraction. Multiply it by the costs, you're getting that portion of the cost allocated to that department. The other way we did it, we're finding a rate, and then we're multiplying it back to see the total amount. So you're going to want to not only memorize, which I know we do a lot when we're doing accounting, but you don't want to fully memorize. You want to make sure that you are also understanding why you're doing it and why it works. All right, human resources is going to use the number of employees as well. So let's go ahead, number of employees here. So $300,000 times 20 divided by 75. Again, $300,000. They're going to get 50 of the 75 and $300,000, and they're going to get 5 of the 75, so they should have a smaller amount. There we go. Now let's just check those totals, make sure that they add up to what we would expect. All right, 250,000, 50,000, 200,000, 300,000. Good, so we're fully allocated out. Now our last step is to find our total costs. So in order to do that, we add up our direct costs plus everything we allocated. And you will see here that we have our final answers. $738,125, $1,087,153, and $574,722. So by now you should be very comfortable with allocating. That shouldn't be the hard part. The main thing to take from this video is understanding that the direct method allocates based on manufacturing department bases. So you'll notice in the next one that we do, when we're doing the step method, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. We're going to be focusing on some rather interesting ways of kind of breaking it down, and we are going to have to take some of these bases in the service departments, but the direct method should be quite easy because we're just focused on that manufacturing department. All right, well, that's all for this video. Make sure that you go ahead and stay tuned for when we go ahead and upload that step cost or step method video. It is a little bit more complicated. Make sure that you're practicing and you're truly understanding what you're doing rather than just memorizing. And until next time, happy studying.